Welcome along to the show. Great to have you here, mate.
Thanks. Yeah, it's good to be back on. I mean, we've done this show in the Championship, into the Premier League, and back into the Football League again. So we seem to be following each other around.
We're like following each other, aren't we? Great work on the channel, first and foremost. I was watching your pre-match show last night, actually. I was finishing it off just a minute ago. Obviously, a lot of talk about the EFL Cup game in midweek. But let's go back a bit further before we talk about that game against Bromley in midweek. I want to talk to you about the end of last season. We've not really caught up since then. It was a horrible season for both of us, probably more so for us than you. But what were your takeaways from the Premier League?
I think all the sort of mainstream media were focusing on Southampton. Could they beat the worst points record and all that? And I'm glad you did, because no one wants that around their neck, do they? No. But we weren't much better, quite frankly. I mean, look, we do finish second from bottom with 26 points. We weren't that much better, and you took 4 points off us through the season and beat us at Pullman Road, which was really probably the final nail in the coffin. You just get a flavour, don't you, when you've been down there before, that you think that we're going to get relegated now. And I think that was probably the game, really. I mean, look, we all go in with aspirations, don't we? And it's interesting looking at Sunderland, Burnley, Leeds, and they're all thinking they can finish mid-table, and they've all made some decent signings. But the reality of the Premier League is somewhat different, isn't it? I mean, we were toe-to-toe with Wolves for a long time. We beat them at Molineux around just before Christmas. It really looked nailed on that we were probably going to finish above them, and then they bringing that Vitor Pereira. They nearly got double our points by the time we got to May. Do you know what I mean? So that just shows you the gulf, doesn't it? I don't know how Ipswich or Southampton can bounce back stronger. It's so difficult. I mean, you get a lot of fans will say, "Oh, well, we'll go back up and we'll come back stronger." How do you do that? How do you bridge the gap? At the moment, it seems impossible. It seems like a 17-team league, and another 3 just chancing their arm and seeing what they can do, and hoping and praying that someone has a bad season. But the more they all stay up there and get the money, the less likely that is to happen, I think.
Yeah, I should talk to you about the 3 that have gone up, actually. How do you see the 3 going? Premier League kicks off tomorrow night at the time of recording. We're recording on Thursday, Friday night's first game of the season. Sunderland gone up, which was a big surprise, wasn't it? Then you've got Burnley bounce straight back up, and then Leeds United at second attempt are back. How do you see the 3 faring?
Well, I think it's sort of the obvious take is that everyone seems to think Leeds could do all right because they're a big name, big fan base, a giant of a club, really, that fell upon hard times and is now bounced back. But that doesn't still bridge the gap for me. It's going to be, I mean, just because you've got a big name and you've got a big stadium and you've got a passionate fan base, we could say that about all the other clubs, really. I mean, I just don't see how they're going to, I don't see how they're going to get to 40 points at the moment. They might surprise me, might get off to a really good start. And I wish them all the best. Do you know what I mean? Sunderland are making big moves, aren't they? Brought in Granit Xhaka and a few others. Be interesting. But again, can they bridge that gap? Burnley might have an opportunity if they can be as defensively sound as they were in the Championship. I mean, they don't even let in something like 20 goals, do they? Over 46 games, something crazy.
It's outrageous, yeah.
So, but can they score the goals at the other end is the other thing. I certainly think, though, those 3 are probably going to be the favourites to be relegated because I just don't see how they bridge the gap. I just can't see it. But I'm happy to be proved wrong. Good luck to all 3 because no one wants a monopoly on the Premier League. You want to see different clubs in there and different clubs coming down into the Championship, don't you? So good luck to them, but it's really difficult.
Yeah, Matt, what's your biggest takeaway from last season in the Premier League? Any takeaways from it?
Probably physicality, which has been kind of the buzzword around Pullman Road this season.
It was down here as well, yeah.
We were a very small side, actually. Take Liam Delap out of the equation. Suddenly you've got Sammy Smodix and Murray Hutchinson, Connor Chaplin. We were quite a tiny team, really. And you saw kind of the quality that you had in midfield because we started the season with Morsey and Nwongo. We'll come to them in a minute. They're both gone now. Sort of veteran campaigners, really, and not the biggest either. And you come up against someone like a Wolves who've got Cunha in there and a couple of others. It's like the Brazilian midfield that was playing in yellow, do you know what I mean, in like the international break against Argentina. Then they're suddenly playing at Pullman Road. It was like crazy. So kind of that physicality, really. And I think even though we say the Championship is a physical division, when you go into the Premier League, they've got physicality with technique as well, those sides. And that's the difference maker, I think. Now, whether or not Burnley, Sunderland, Leeds can add that to their sides. Like, for example, at Leeds, they got the Japanese lad, haven't they? Io Tanaka, who's looked really good in the Championship last season. Is he going to get lost in the Premier League? as a Premier League player. He's got all the technical skills. Is he going to be able to compete over 38 games in the Premier League midfield? I mean, that will remain to be seen. Good luck to him. But that's the buzzword around Pullman Road.
It was down here. Russell Martin spoke about physicality a lot, actually. Said that they didn't have it. But he spoke about that in athleticism, a bit about being athletic. The team, they undercooked it, how we undercooked it when we were well established as a Premier League club before that. I don't know. I find that quite incredible. Our recruitment was dreadful. Yours was a lot better than ours going into the Premier League. Going into this season, for any Southampton fan that's not so in touch with what Ipswich have done in the summer, what's happened since relegation? The big thing is you kept the manager, because there was a lot of speculation about him going to Brentford. That didn't happen. But what's happened with players? What's the squad looking like?
Well, I mean, the big loss, of course, was Delap. We went right at the end of last season.
That was early, wasn't it?
Yeah, so he'd gone. I mean, he was getting touted round to everyone in the Premier League, I think, from about March, April onwards. Actually, probably after you beat us in February, when he started getting touted. He
should have scored against us that day as well, by the way. He should have scored. It would have been a different game at 0-0 if he'd scored that, by the way.
Yes, absolutely. And then you stole it late at the end, didn't you? But yeah, so he went. I mean, he had a bizarre season. If you'd said to us at the start of that season that he would actually end the season and go into the summer to be a Club World Cup winner and receive the trophy from Donald Trump, I'd have been asking what you've been drinking. You know what I mean? But that was a real end to the season for him. I mean, he ends up with silverware and a Club World Champion medal. So there you go. So he's gone. He did perform better than what everyone thought. There wasn't that much hype when he joined us. All the hype was from Jacob Greaves, and they played together at Hull City the season before in the Championship. And all the talk was around him, and could this be a defender that moves on into the England setup pretty quickly? And then here comes Delap behind him. You know, Manchester City youngster, did okay at Hull, played on the right wing mostly. And then, of course, then he plays in his natural position for us as the 9 and starts pulling up trees, doesn't he? And, you know, making headlines and scoring worldie goals and all that kind of stuff. So he went, and he had a relegation clause in his contract, and Chelsea triggered, and off he went. And then the other big miss for us, of course, is Morsey, which was a bit of a shock to everyone. I mean, we knew he was in the twilight of his career at Pullman Road. I mean, even the destination is a shock. He's gone to like the Man City of Kuwait football. FC Kuwait, I think they're called. They start their season in September. So he's gone on a free. I mean, if anyone deserves...
You're disappointed to see him go?
Yeah. I think everyone's disappointed to see him go because he's been kind of shoulder to shoulder with McKenna in the back-to-back promotions.
Yeah.
Paul Cook would have persuaded him to leave Middlesbrough to come to us in League One and be the captain of the club. And he, by his own admission, he was kind of out of love with football at that point. And he said we renewed his love for the game. And why not? I mean, look, Cook goes, McKenna comes in, we get the back-to-back promotions, we go into the Premier League. But I think everyone probably saw him as more of a squad player going into this season if he had stayed. Reduced role, handing the captaincy over to Dara O'Shea, which has happened. But Morsey, you know, he got an offer, probably life-changing money as you get over in the Middle East in these leagues.
Huge.
And, you know, I think they've offered him a wonderful place to live. I mean, you're not going to say no, are you? So he's gone. And we'd already lost Luongo. He had his goodbye against West Ham on the final day of the season. So he had gone as well. I mean, there'd probably been a role for now Luongo to play if he'd stayed at Pullman Road, knowing Morsey had gone. But of course, we didn't know that at the time. He's gone off to Millwall and came on in their first game of the season against Norwich, ironically. So they're kind of like, they're the big ones. And of course, you speak about the game where you beat us 2-1 and we had Muric in goal for that game. And Ipswich fans have had a love-hate relationship with him, as we've covered before when you've been on our channel. There's nothing like first impressions. And his first impression as a debut against Manchester City away at the Etihad was 2 errors. And we lose 4-1. And he never kind of recovered.
He cost you the game against us, to be fair. If you had Aaron Ramsdale goal, you would have won the game. It was that simple.
Yeah.
That was the difference between the sides, because the sides on paper that day, I think Ipswich probably edged that game, in my opinion, and would have walked away like pretty pissed that you'd not got anything out of the game.
Yeah, so he's now, it was kind of writing on the wall kind of job, really, that he would go. It was just who would take him on loan. And Sassuolo in Italy, champions out of Serie B, gone back in Serie A, kind of like a Brentwood, Bournemouth of Italy, I would say. They'd had a long time, a bit like yourselves, had a long time in the top flight, 10 years plus, drop back down, come back up again. So he's gone there probably to be there number one. And So I don't think there's any love lost there, sadly. Really good keeper on his day. I mean, but you know, where he's like dominant in the box, he's like 6'6", 6'7", and coming in for corners and free kicks and being dominant with the takes, as you saw against you. Just had an error, like every other game. He had an error in there, just not, like never recovered. And we've lost Twanzebe as well, who's gone back into the Premier League with Burnley. So
he's a good player. I liked him a lot, actually.
Yeah, he was playing out of position as well. I mean, he was a centre half for Man United and captain Man United in a couple of their League Cup games, I think. And then he had problems with injuries, had loans with like Stoke and Villa, I think. Didn't get a deal at Luton when they were Premier League. Came to us because he knows McKenna. McKenna turned him into a right back. Pretty much played there for most of his town career. And then Burnley come in out of contract and he's gone. And then the other defender that's gone is Cameron Burgess, who's gone to Swansea. Again, he was kind of like Greaves' deputy, I suppose. I mean, McKenna could never really decide between the two last season. They both would get a run of games. It was never really kind of nailed on. I think probably Greaves did the more appearances, but you weren't ever surprised to see Burgess come in, and he's gone on and he wants regular football because he wants to be with Australia in the World Cup at the end of this time next year. So you can see why he'd have gone. But I think if you spoke to all the fans, they're probably disappointed with all those players leaving, other than maybe Muric, who was it's probably the best for his career if he was to move on, you know.
Yeah, who's become number one? Who's going to be the goalkeeper, do you think, this season?
Alex Palmer, who we brought in to cover Muric.
Yeah,
by
has he been
January.
signed, or is that a loan or is that a signing?
It was permanent. We bought him for about 2 million, I think. So we bought him in January.
Yeah,
you know, because I mean, this was a saga going on. So like Muric got a run of games, and Christian Walton came in. Then I think Walton was injured, and then Muric comes back against you, and then Palmer comes in to actually, and he was the starter right through to the end of the season. He looks a good keeper, whether or not he's got the feet that McKenna wants. That's what Muric had. He could spray the ball around like a central midfielder, fantastic. But he just had too many.
He was great with the ball at his feet.
Yeah. I mean, come through the academy at Manchester City. That's how they're all, that's how they're all trained, isn't it? Yeah. I don't think Palmer really has that. I don't think he's as comfortable with the ball to his feet. But a good shot stopper. Had a brilliant kind of league debut at Villa Park for us. You know, we got a 1-1 draw down to 10 men. Twanzebe got sent off in that. He was brilliant in that. So it goes full circle, doesn't it? What was his first impression? Saves us the draw at Villa Park when we were down to 10 men. So it was just the other side of the coin that Muric didn't have, sadly.
Yeah. Incomings, the summer so far. Ashley Young, he's coming. I saw that one because it was obviously heavily publicised. Any other incomings that you're excited by? The incomings first and foremost.
Ashley Young's played well so far. He's had cameos in both games. He's done all right. Well, I mean, we brought in Azor Matasiwa from Stade Rennes, who's Morsey's replacement. So we brought him in for about 10 million. He's kind of like, doesn't look like the kind of player who's going to cross the halfway line too often. So like an N'Golo Kante style, proper CDM. He had a baptism of fire against Birmingham at St Andrews. I guess we'll come to that in a minute. He's come in. Also out of the French league from Reims is Cedric Kepre. You might remember was at West Bromwich Albion, Cardiff.
Yeah, centre back. Yeah, he was a good centre back. Yeah, strong, big,
absolute unit. Yeah, he's going to probably be Greaves's. Again, he's coming as the to replace Burgess, I would say. Come and be that deputy on the left-hand side of defence or cover when there's injuries. He looks good with the ball at his feet, to be fair. Reminds me of Titus Bramble a little bit of a unit, comfortable with the ball, can break out across the halfway line with it, start an attack. Also looks like he's got a bit of an error in him as well. So actually he's ticking all the Titus Bramble boxes. And Ashley Young, like you say, I mean, what we've lost in the experience of Morsey and Luongo, Ashley Young will bring that in abundance. Funny, I mean, look, Man United, Inter Milan, Everton. This sound like 19, 20 appearances, all starts actually for Everton at Goodison last season. Fit as a fiddle. Looks good.
I mean, good in the last game of the season when we were there. He put more crosses in the box in 70 minutes than we did in the whole season. I'm not joking. Honestly, he did. He was good, and I thought to myself, like I'm 42. He's not like that much younger than me. He's still playing. It's like it's quite incredible, really. He looks fit as a fiddle. You'll get a good season out of him, and he's got that experience, that leadership. You know, it's a lot to be said for that. You know.
I watch a lot of UFC. I watch a lot of boxing. It's not unusual now to see fighters go into their 40s, but it's still unusual, isn't it? In football, you might get the odd keeper here or there. I know Zlatan did. James Milner's still going. But it's unusual, isn't it? And you tend to find supporters will focus on that as the stat. Oh, well, he's 40 years old. And I was like, you're looking at the wrong stat. Look at the Man United, England tournaments, Inter Milan. I mean, that's what he brings. We've got familiar faces come back in. Jens Kahuste, he's come back in on loan from Napoli. We had a deal, so he came in at the start of last season. We had a deal that if we stayed up, we would have bought him for about 10 million. So then we'll see. We don't stay up. He goes back to Napoli. He's not a part of Conte's plans after they win the Scudetto. So he looked like he's been shopped around all sorts. Palace, Burnley, Besiktas. Spent most of his summer flying back and forth around Europe by the looks of things. Saudi Arabia was another one as well, one of them clubs. So maybe he could have gone and taken the money, but we put a deal on the table to him and he said he wanted to come back. So that was a real surprise for us. I wasn't massive. I mean, I'm in the minority when I say this. I wasn't that impressed with his stats in the Premier League, to be honest with you. He got better as the season progressed. Like, again, he was our attacking, sort of that box-to-box player, but no assists really, barely shot. It was only from about March onwards that he started really performing for me, but certainly his passing stats weren't great. His defensive stats weren't great. He was good at kind of interceptions and dribbling away with the ball. And I expect to probably see him improve on that in the Championship in the level below. But there was huge question marks around his stamina, his fitness. I think when we played you at St Mary's was September, wasn't it, in the Premier League? And
it was early.
I think from that game onwards, he had a bit of a niggle, which I don't think maybe impacted him a little bit. I don't know how he's going to deal with playing extra games. You know, the Saturday, Tuesday schedule. You have Saturday, Sunday or whatever in the Premier League, it's easy to recover.
It's relentless in the Championship.
It's really relentless.
Yeah.
So it feels like we need someone for him. But I think at this level, he's going to be good. But of course, if we go up, there's a deal to sign him. But we'll have to wait and see. He's very popular with the fans. I do like him as a person. I do like his style of play. But you just break down the stats a little bit. You don't even have to do much of a deep dive, really, to think, well, midfield was one of our problems last season. And him and Morsey probably just wasn't good enough. Yeah. And then from Ajax, we brought in Chuba Akpom, who you might remember from Borough, where he played in a kind of a number 10 role for Borough under Carrick and got like 28, 30 goals. Used to be an Arsenal Academy player. Yeah. So he's come in. Has it worked out for him at Ajax? Probably not. I think he had a bit of a spell at Lille last season, but look, he's played Champions League football. He'll be coming in. We don't really know where he's going to be playing. I mean, it makes sense for him to play on the number 10 role because I've not included him in departures yet, but it looks like maybe even by the time this goes live, Nathan Broadhead would have gone to Wrexham for about 10 million, 7.5 to 10 mil. I think Akpom coming into Ipswich is going to trigger that deal. So I'm sure that'll be over the line by the time people are watching this. And then we've got Ivan Azon coming in from Como. He's been at Real Zaragoza. He's coming in as probably a number 9 for us, paying a loan fee according to Fabrizio Romano. And then if we go up, there's a deal to be done for about 10, 12 million. So he's a bit of an unknown quantity. We've only ever had 4 Spanish players at Ipswich. So it'd be him. Ivan Campo, you remember, from Real Madrid and Bolton. Pablo Cunyago, who was a real fan favourite. So if Ivan can follow in his footsteps, it'd be great. We had a defender called Cito as well. So we haven't had too many Spanish players at Portman Road before. So hopefully that will be announced by the time this is live as well.
There's a bit of talk about Amari Hutchinson. Everton with some interest. They're very interested in Tyler Dibbling. And I was listening actually to BBC last night that one of the correspondents on Merseyside had said about Amari Hutchinson. They're very keen on Tyler Dibbling. I think he's the man they want, but they're kind of stuck on trying to broker a deal with Southampton. Has there been any talk around Portman Road of Hutchinson and Everton, or is that fairly quiet at the moment?
I'd say that's probably a new link. So I mean, if Dibbling was to go, what are you talking? 50 million? Is that what you're holding out for?
Yeah, that's what Southampton want. Yeah, they want 50 million. They've come in with a bid around 40 million plus some add-ons, and Southampton have rejected it. They want more.
Okay, that's interesting because I think if Everton come with 40 million from Amari Hutchinson at Portman Road, he will go because he had a relegation clause that expired. Brentford did trigger it, but didn't quite meet all the criteria in the contract, whatever that might have been. So the deal didn't happen at 35. I think Everton come in at 40. I think Amari Hutchinson will probably go. I mean, look, he didn't play against Birmingham because he was ill, apparently. Then he didn't play against Bromley because he felt he couldn't contribute. which to me is I don't want to play because I want to go and play in the Premier League, which is a bit of a diva move for me. I don't like that. I mean, you're being paid by a club, and you're putting your own interests ahead of the club and the supporters. So I find that a little bit disrespectful. I mean, he doesn't want to. I mean, look, it's probably not the player; it's the agent that is driving this, and the player gets the flack, doesn't he? Because he's in the public eye. Yeah, and Amari's been fantastic for us in the Championship, and he did his best that he could last season in the Premier League and had some standout moments. Scored the winning goal against Chelsea, our only home win in the Premier League. He scored a worldie against Manchester United. So he's had some great moments. It'd be horrible, really, for him to kind of fall out with the fan base. But Ipswich fans do tend to fall out with players that either don't sign with us or have left on bad terms when they do eventually return. And they always do eventually return, don't they?
There was a lot of talk around Flynn Downs, wasn't there? We should touch upon that, really. You know, we talk about players and falling out with clubs. He's a man that didn't fall out with your club, but he did fall out with our manager last year, Ivan Juric. And there was a lot of talk. I kept getting messages from different people that he bought a house in Ipswich. Then I had someone else text me saying it was at the training ground at one stage. Was there any truth to any of that at all? Was it just total nonsense?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was truth in it. Whether or not, I mean, I always thought you wouldn't sit. I mean, when you had Juric there, and the deal was nearly done in that January, and I think the reason it didn't happen that we were told was Southampton didn't want to sell to a relegation rival. I understand that makes complete sense to me. I'd be in the same boat if it was Town and you were trying to sign one of our players. So, by the same token, why would it make sense for you to sell to what is perceived as a promotion rival this season? Don't make any. It's the same thing, isn't it? It's the same context, really. So, but yeah, I mean, we were told that he had been at the training ground and his partner was looking at houses and everything. And yeah, it seemed like it was going to be a nailed-on deal. And then suddenly this Matasiwa deal happens. I mean, they both play that kind of defensive role, don't they? Yeah. So, I mean, whether or not...
I'm not sure how he fits in with Will Steele and the way Will Steele plays football. I've got to be honest. I tell you what, ever since that fallout he had with Juric, whatever went on, he trained away. There was a lot of talk that he was refusing to train for a period of time. Kind of the fan base don't quite feel the same about him anymore. There's not that massive loving around him anymore. There was a little bit of talk a couple of weeks ago that the Ipswich may spark some interest back in him again. But again, it's going to be, like you say, to sell to what is now a promotion rival. When you look at Ipswich and Southampton, you know, we're definitely going to be fighting each other for promotion, aren't we? Whether it's top two or...
It feels like that. On paper, it feels that way anyway. You haven't seen our performance.
You Downs? You take Downs, wouldn't you? Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. We get people to come on our show and we'll be going, "Oh, we'd love to have Flynn Downs," and people are going, "Oh, we don't want Flynn Downs." I think even when we beat you 3-2 in the Sarmiento one, when we both went up that season, and he played very well in that game. There were still people around. There were people who were booing him around me through that game. But yeah, I mean, he would be. He came through our academy and he'd be welcome back, I think. But whether or not he would come back as the starter, I mean, he'd only come as a starter, wouldn't he? And it feels like Matasiwa was going to be that at the moment, but don't know.